I'm honored to invite Deacon Allison Ward, one of our delegates, to come and share about her experience in Chichipate.
Thy kingdom come. We pray this every week as we come together as a community of saints. We pray for God's kingdom to come in the future and in the present day. Every now and then, just like the criminal hanging on the cross beside Jesus, we get a glimpse of God's kingdom in the here and now. In our faith tradition, we don't often talk about Jesus as king. We dwell more on his humble upbringing and his life as a roaming teacher. As Jesus rode into Jerusalem, we get a glimpse of him as a king, and we get a glimpse of royalty. You, dear sisters and brothers, sent 9 of us as a delegation to share in God's love with our southern siblings in Guatemala. This relationship has been established for decades, but it was my first experience with Sister Parish. I really wasn't sure what to expect, despite all the great training that we got before from Ruth and Cesar before we arrived in Chichipate. But when our van arrived in the village, we were welcomed by a delegation of the town's leaders and host families. The children held up a sign welcoming us. We crawled out of the van and we were greeted with hugs and handshakes all around. We felt like visiting royalty. We went into their sanctuary and we were officially greeted and gifted with walking sticks, which actually came in quite handy. At St. Thomas, a person once said to me that they thought that they would not like going to Chichipate because they wouldn't want to put anyone out of their way. They wouldn't want to intrude or to take resources away from people who have enough struggles as it is. I also wondered about that, but after experiencing the outpouring of hospitality, I have no doubt that we were wanted and welcomed. As a matter of fact, they had us all switch to a second host family once they were there so that more families could share in the experience of having us in their homes. While it is true that each family received a small stipend to help cover the cost of the extra food that they would need to get for us, I must say that they gave of themselves far beyond what we would ever be able to pay for. Our first host family was Luisa and Juventino. With their children, they gave us a room with a bed that was given up by one of their elder daughters. Luisa and Juventino spoke Quechua. Their elder daughters and Juventino did speak Spanish, so we were able to use Google Translator to have a 3-way conversation, sort of. I so wanted to talk directly to Luisa, but I had to wait until Cesar came and translated for me. We got along just fine with hand motions. Luisa's about my age. She gets up every morning to start a fire in her open-air kitchen. She sends her daughter with dried corn to a neighbor's house that has a mill. She returns with the fresh ground corn to make a dough that they start patting out tortillas to cook on a sheet of metal over the fire. Pat, pat, pat. All morning, Luisa and her daughters make tortillas. After a while, neighbors come by to purchase the still warm tortillas for their own breakfast. Then they return in the evening for more tortillas. Pat, 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 all day long. Luisa made a great attempt to teach me how to make tortillas. Pat. Mine were not so great. They were very sad, and they were certainly not going to make any money for the family. But she graciously let me keep trying. The hospitality was just overwhelming. We spent a day hiking up to a farm and returned to the farmer's home with fresh coconut milk from coconut trees that he had in his own backyard. Later, we went to another home for a traditional Mayan drink. We spent a day in El Astor, which is the nearest town, where a Chichipate man is the mayor. He met us in his office, and he took us out to lunch at a beautiful lakeside restaurant. The community offered 2 worship services for us, one a Catholic Mass with beautiful music, and the other a very meaningful Mayan blessing service, and that's where our gifts were offered. Both services were followed with meals for us as the community gathered along a very long table. There were 2 school celebrations where the students danced and showed off their traditional art skills. Over and over again, we were warmly welcomed. The most profound welcome I want to share with you was from a simple evening walk with our second host family. The sun was just beginning to set. Anna took us for a neighborhood stroll, much like Jim and I might do if we had visitors in our home. Yet as we walked down the dirt street, we were greeted by people and invited into their homes. One woman was out in her front yard weaving. She stopped to show us her beautiful work. We went to another home where people were sitting out on the front porch. We visited there for a bit, admiring their view of the soccer field. We talked about the game earlier in the day where Arno got to play. We walked to another home where we were invited inside and introduced to the elders who were there. A turkey strolling through the living room amused me. The women showed us the weaving that they were doing. It was such a peaceful evening. It was a slice of God's kingdom to come. As we wandered back to Anna's home, I wondered about doing just such a walk in my own neighborhood. Would my neighbors welcome me and guest strangers to them into their homes? Would they stop what they were doing just to visit? It made me want to develop deeper relationships with my own neighbors. It made me long for God's kingdom to come. In the meantime, I will long for the day when we can attempt to offer reciprocal hospitalities to our Southern siblings when they come to visit us. The people of Chichipate set a grace-filled high standard for us to follow.